Including the recording. Okay. So welcome. Here we are at the task force on gun violence prevention. Unfortunately, the news has shown us that we have lots and lots of work to do. And I think that I should get to remind everybody who we are. All right, so we are the League of Women Voters, and we are a nonpartisan grassroots nonprofit dedicated to empowering everyone to fully participate in our democracy. We do not advocate for or against candidates or parties, and our leagues advocate and educate to ensure that every Coloradan has the freedom, confidence, and the information they need to vote. That's who we are. And I believe that okay, hang on. I'm going to stop my share and then start it again because I didn't do it right. There we are. Okay, so there is our agenda for this evening. We do have an issue about our meeting times that we have, planned sort of haphazardly all the way up through last month and this month, and now we have nothing coming up. Can we say that Wednesdays are acceptable most of the time and that 5:30 is a good hour? I think that however many of us we are, I think there are 13 of us, are just going to have to decide for the rest of the group. Are there strong objections to Wednesdays?
No.
Strong objections to 5:30? Would 5 o'clock be easier on people?
It would for me.
Okay. Other people?
I would also prefer earlier, so 5 o'clock would work for me.
Okay, 5 o'clock on Wednesdays. And we've been doing this, I think, this is what, the second Wednesday of the month. So then I will fill out the calendar at least through July on the theory that then we can have another discussion about that. So let me just go right ahead and say so. 5 p.m. through July. All right. And we will be ready to roll. All right. Now, one of the things that I had wanted to discuss was a question that Ann Thompson brought up the very first night. And she said, how do we get people involved in this? How do we keep them involved? How do we keep leagues involved? Because we've all seen, when something horrifying happens close to home, everyone is aware and engaged, and then, time passes and we sort of fritter away. And I was thinking about it, and it seems to me as though we're always playing whack-a-mole, that whatever comes up, we jump on that and, use all of our energy and then wait until the next thing shows up and then, do it again. And I was, out on the internet, as I tend to do often. And I came upon Everytown organization, and most of you who are in MOMS or other organizations have certainly heard of Everytown. And they have, they have a plan. They have a 3-point plan that they want to address. And I thought that might be a way for us to engage leagues, so that whenever, the immediate concern that we have is going on, we still have a background of work to do. and we can keep on you can keep progress. There are, there are very many things that we can do to keep up on our plan. I don't know how many of you have discussed this amongst yourselves or have read the Everytown plan. Are people familiar with it? Maybe, maybe not.
Well, actually, as the Moms Demand Action leader up here in Fort Collins, I should know about it, but I don't. So
Okay,
that's not good. But
all right.
I agree that, I guess what I've been thinking about more and more is how multifaceted this is. And, I really, I'm not sure what the 3 points are. Maybe you could go over that if you have it right here. But I feel like, for one thing, partnerships are super important. So, so we can hit the tipping point with how many people are involved in this movement. And I don't think we should be reinventing the wheels. We should all be working together on the various aspects, because there are so many aspects of defeating gun violence. So
There are. Well, let's see. Every town says that their 3-point plan is to work on background checks for all gun sales, to prevent gun trafficking, and to repeal gun industry immunity. And, of course, as with everything, those all sound good to me. But are those the most important things for Colorado? And are they the most important things that the league can get involved in? Anybody have thoughts about that?
Well, Colorado already has background checks for all gun sales.
And I guess my question would be, and that's why maybe I don't know about the 3-point plan. I have a feeling this is the current 3-point plan emphasis for right now, because the background checks, federal background checks, have been on the table for so long now, and really hoping to push that over the finish line, regardless of how difficult it is right now with Congress. So I think that's why the big push is there. It's like we need to get that over the finish line. And then the other two, of course, gun trafficking and the gun industry immunity are huge issues. But I think there is a bill right now with gun industry immunity coming up right in Colorado. So, we could definitely get behind that one, because that's already on our agenda for the bills here in Colorado. But, I guess my thought is, it's not that simple. And I don't think we need to get too complicated either, because that keeps people away. So it is, as far as how you keep people motivated, I think you do have to keep it simple and focused. But I'm not sure that really just focusing on those 3 points is the best for us as a task force. So that's,
I wonder
Can I
if,
chime in here?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think there were a couple speaking over each other.
yeah.
Whoever didn't get to talk, start, please.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, my thought was just to support the legislation that would be appropriate and helpful, maybe to address the league's position, because I think there's some important legislation going on now, and it seems to me that that is something we could certainly do, and maybe engage others in the league to do as well.
So I'd like to chime in here a little bit. I'm probably
Please.
the other side of the spectrum a little bit from most of you, or at least a couple of you so far. But like the background checks, like somebody said, Colorado is 100% background check. Now, and I thought that the entire nation was that way, but maybe not. And if they're not, then that's a really good point to have up there. It should say, for the whole country. And I'm all for it. Then the gun trafficking, I don't really know what you're going to do with that. But as far as making the gun lobby immunity, take their immunity away, I'm not sure that will ever fly. And you're somewhat wasting your time. I mean, So how far do we take it? Do we say General Motors and Ford and Dodge and Porsche, everybody, they're liable for every car wreck because the people driving them are idiots? And you know, how far do you take that? If you're going to do it with one industry, you're going to do it with all. And so I think that's a really big stretch. Where you know, I have a lot of guns and I shoot them, but I see there's a lot of gaps in how people are getting these guns. And I didn't join this or come on to be confrontational. I just want my side to be heard is all. So if I'm going too long, tell me and I'll shut up. But what I see is something more functional is, why don't we hold gun owners accountable for people who have their guns? Some of these murders have been from K through 12 kids getting a hold of a gun, parent's gun, and using them. Shouldn't the parent be somewhat responsible to maintain control of that gun? I mean, I would agree to that, and I think I would take responsibility for that. And I think that's something, you're not taking away my rights to have a gun, but you're making sure that I'm owning that gun. I don't want to say properly, but responsibly. And I think that something like those are things we could work on. You know, and I think Colorado is doing some hunter safety courses in school. And I think we need, if you expand that and teach kids how to handle guns and what devastation they can cause, I think they're a lot less likely to use them. And so there's a training aspect there. I mean, some might think, well, now they really know how to use it. But I think if you guys are ever around kids that have had guns their whole life, they're very respectful and very cautious of them. They know not to point them at people. And, you know, they're going to go hunting, you know, they put a bullet in the chamber and then they shoot their deer. But they don't walk around pointing their gun at every animal and their dog, because they've learned that from a responsible parent. And so I think that last one on your 3-point plan is really, really out of line, will go nowhere.
Well,
And it makes our-
let's remember though that in Colorado, we have a special law that does protect that applies to lawsuits against gun dealers and gun manufacturers and so forth, that if you lose that process, you pay all the fees. And in no other place, you know, and no other kind of consumer protection legality does that sort of thing happen. So I think that we need to look at Colorado's own protection of industry immunity, and as well as talking about our national immunity. The gun industry there has a special protection. And I think that, you know, we should be, you know, looking at our representatives there to see how they think that should go down. That if we want,
Something.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just want to thank Dale for what you said. I think
Yeah.
we really, really, really need gun owners like you who really want to look at this issue, you know, from all different angles and aspects, because that is so important. And I guess that's why I'm saying this. There's such a wide range that we need to look at. I really hate to say there should be a 3-point plan. I would almost rather see how do we as a task force develop relationships with groups that are really pushing for some of these things, even that Dale talked about. I know Giffords has a gun owners group within Giffords that really comes together around, you know, issues of safety like this. So yeah, I think we need a lot of voices, and I really don't think we want to pare it down to a 3-point plan. But then again, how do we keep it from getting too complicated that people kind of tune out because they feel like they can't make a difference? So it is a challenge, but Dale, I love everything you said. And I think, you know, I know as I've been working with Moms Be in Action for about 8 years now. And I see this too, where it, like Rianda said, that, you know, it peaks at all these peaks and valleys. Like after you have a mass shooting, you get so many people that want to do something right away. And then they walk away after a while because they feel like they can't make a difference. So it is challenging, but I think part of it is just getting that information out there about how many things are involved with gun violence prevention. It's not all about one law or one thing to do. It's about safe storage. It's about keeping, you know, firearms away from young people, unless, like Dale said, it's a rifle that they've been trained with to go hunting. But otherwise, you know, it's locked up. It's safe, and we even have a safe storage law and now in Colorado. So we need to work with parents and with kids on understanding these things too, these issues, and that goes a long way. So yeah, I'm rambling, but thank you, Dale. I agree there's many different things to look at.
Yeah, I feel really strongly about the immunity thing. So let me make this point and then I'll let you go. I can't see your name on my computer here. About the immunity thing. I mean, if you think about it, there's so much noise on gun control, but there's more people killed with knives in cars than with guns. And we're not regulating them, you know, like a car. We teach them how to drive. We give them a license to drive. And so I think the same needs to be, we can't punish, if you want a law that's going to work, you can't punish the legal law-abiding gun owner. We've got to get the illegal guns. We had up there somewhere. I saw it. Maybe that's the gun trafficking. Get the illegal guns off, and the people that shouldn't have them, they shouldn't have the guns. Now, how do we stop that? I can't tell you, but I just think the consumer protection. I think that making so you can sue a gun manufacturer if somebody gets a hold of a gun is just absolutely ludicrous. Because then when my wife gets in a car accident coming home tonight, I'm going to sue Ford. You know, and it just turns into this big so there's you know, you can sue a gun manufacturer for a gun blowing up and killing you, the operator of the gun. But how do you stop stupid?
Yeah.
How do you stop crazy? And
If we knew, we would, believe me.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would too. I would help.
Mark has his hand up. Mark, would you?
Yeah, go.
Yes, thank you for your time and thank you for having me. First time participant here. Wanted to first of all express my agreement with the gentleman who just finished speaking. I absolutely agree. Any attempt to hold private industry accountable for the actions of individuals using their products is absolutely absurd. As he mentioned, this is equivalent to, you know, holding Ford accountable for auto accidents when people don't follow the rules of motor vehicle safety. So that's one. Two, I would say the main thing that has been missed in this conversation thus far is what we're talking about here are gun rights. According to the Colorado Constitution and the United States Constitution, gun rights are just that. They're constitutional rights. They're not privileges, unlike driving. So that makes any attempt to hold manufacturers accountable even more absurd, simply because this is a right that, according to the United States Constitution, Second Amendment says, shall not be infringed. And infringement, as you may know, is any violation in any way upon said right. So, read literally, the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution means that any and all gun laws are illegal and unconstitutional.
Well, I think that that's
Wait,
going
please.
way too far. I
Please,
don't
let me-
think that there are many
please.
people here who agree with that.
That's fine.
We have
You can disagree and you will
lots
have your
of
time.
precedent. We
I'll
have
have one more
lots of
time.
precedent. I believe that there was a Supreme Court justice at one time said that your right to swing your fist ends where my nose begins.
This is correct.
And
And murder is illegal and has been for hundreds of years.
that's right. So
So
let's,
again,
So-
the
Well,
right
can
to
we give
own-
some-
I
the
have a
right to own these
question.
things should not be
Oh,
questioned.
we
The right
have,
to
Okay.
use them illegally remains
Uh-huh.
illegal and will be so for the foreseeable future. Number one. Number two, and I will be short and brief.
Good.
It's a
Good,
matter of
yes.
education. As mentioned, we need to educate the children. We need to educate people about proper firearms use and safety. Teaching ignorance and fear is never the proper solution to the problem. I yield.
thank you.
Uh,
Mary, your hand was up. It's been up for a while.
Yes, thank you. While I agree that suing gun manufacturers for problems is a problem, I don't necessarily think that's a good way to go forward. I am interested in the no drug or preventing drug trafficking because I don't know really what they are addressing there. So if anybody knows, it would be great if you could tell me. But then thirdly, I know that Colorado has a couple of bills that I think we could get behind this year, and that
Yeah.
is to outlaw assault rifles and to introduce a waiting period. I think both of those would be very important. They're current in Colorado and be good things that we could support.
Okay, and let's see, Beth, your hand is up next.
Yes, I'm just listening to Mark and to Dale, and I don't think we need to be getting into the weeds right now on what we think needs to be done or not needs to be done. These kinds of debates have gone on forever and will forever, but we do need to figure out how to move forward together. There are changes that are needed because we have way too many deaths from gun violence in our country. And you can argue back and forth about, yes, we have other violence, whatever. I don't think that's what we're here for tonight. What we're here for is to decide how do we move forward to help reduce gun violence in our country. And that's going to be a long-term effort to figure out what the best ways are to do that. And what we have to figure out is how do we work with organizations in our community to make a difference. Moms Demand Action is one. There are also Dr. Emmy Betts works with visiting. Anyway, she works with gun owners, with gun dealers to try to make a difference to prevent suicides in our community because 2/3 of gun deaths are suicides. So this is a huge, huge issue that's not going to be solved with one law or without passing a law or with only talking about constitutional rights. We have to move forward thinking about what are the best ways. And if we don't move forward, then gun deaths will continue to rise. So I think we, especially on this call, this task force, we can't be here trying to solve individual issues. Instead, we have to say, what's our best approach to move forward? And I see partnerships are down further on the agenda. And of course, as a league, we're always talking about what legislation can help. So I think that's what we need to focus on right now.
Okay, June, your hand is up.
Yes, I do. First of all, agree with Mary that I think there is some good legislation out there, those couple of bills that we could all support and make
Would you
our
remind me
voice.
which ones?
Mary, I think you mentioned there is one to ban any purchase of assault weapons,
Right.
weapons of war, basically.
And
That
the waiting period.
oh, in the
Waiting.
waiting period, those are two good ones. So I think that that's really important. But I had a question too. I think, I'm not sure who mentioned that there are special immunities given to gun sales or what. I don't know what that is. I'd be interested.
Manufacturers.
Yeah, the manufacturers. Okay. What kind of special immunities do they have?
Good question.
Okay. I can send you some links about those, right?
That would be great. I would appreciate that. Yeah.
Okay, and I will put those in the notes and I will send those on later. There's a national one as well as a Colorado one.
Okay,
Right.
yeah, I just,
Mary Bligan, your hand was up next.
Yes, and I just wanted to mention in terms of collaborating with groups, Colorado Ceasefire has been very active in Colorado.
yes,
And it's
yes.
been instrumental in getting a lot of the laws passed. So that's
Yes.
somebody else we need to put on the list to collaborate with.
Okay. Catherine Rudd.
Yes, I was just going to say to the two gentlemen on the here, if there are more than one or two gentlemen, I don't know here, who are concerned about gun rights. I just want to say my father grew up on a large ranch in eastern Washington state. We had guns around the home all the time. But I'm a strong supporter of stricter laws. So it doesn't automatically follow that everybody who supports gun rights is against gun laws. There are many good gun laws. What we want are good, effective laws. I would say, look, I think, gun owners, I have read that 70% of Democrats and 50% of Republicans want to see stricter laws. And I think the area of common ground really is this safe storage. Responsible gun owners do practice safe storage, which means they keep, we could have, as a league, could come forward and say, this is what safe storage is. We've passed a safe storage law here in Colorado. I know that Moms Demand Action, they are working with some through the schools. And I think this is an excellent idea to try to disseminate through the PTAs at the beginning of every year an awareness so that the parents of every student are aware of these safe storage laws. So these are things we can work on across the board.
Okay.
So-
Andrea, you have your hand up next.
Thanks, Rhonda. I just wanted to make mention of the fact that a lot of the gun violence prevention legislation that we're referencing during the discussion tonight is still to be introduced. So Rhonda and the Legislative Action Committee overall is looking out for all of this. But I certainly agree that getting behind that legislation and being very vocal supporters of the bills that align with our organizational positions is definitely something that we can do. And I think it's likely that we'll be sending out action alerts around these as they start to move through the legislative process. But I did want to make mention of that. And just as a little bit of a personal anecdote to the point about PTAs distributing information on safe storage, I think that's a great idea. But something that caught my attention when I was registering my daughter for school this year through DPS, I do recall a question on the school registration form asking, I don't remember exactly how it was worded, but it was asking something to the effect of if I was aware that there was a safe storage law in Colorado, and kind of gave some information about it. So I do think that, pushing that information out in a variety of ways is great. And I was pleased to see the question.
Okay. Okay, Mark, your hand's up again.
Thank you again. I just wanted to point out, as the previous two commenters stated, that Colorado does have a law regarding safe storage. That being stated, think carefully about what safe storage means. A significant number of firearms owners own those for self-defense, such as in the middle of the night. If you have a firearm for self-defense and it must be locked up in a safe and or must have a trigger lock, and you are awakened in the middle of the night by a perpetrator, do you have time to access that firearm, load it, and defend yourself and your family? No, you do not. That's number one. Number two, safe storage works to a point, but again, we come back to ignorance versus education. I don't worry about my children coming into contact with firearms because they know how to handle them. They know to respect them. What I do worry about is other children coming into contact with our firearms. And for that reason, we have to follow unnecessary isolation protocols for our firearms. I yield.
Thank you. Beth DeHaven, you're back. Your hand is up again.
Just responding to what Mark said.
Okay.
You're thinking about your children and that they can handle this. But what we also know is that many children are taking their own lives by suicide. So, you know, you may think you know your children really well, but we know that teenagers with access to firearms can be a very dangerous thing. And how many times do we have other laws that make things more difficult for us, but we know they protect our community? So we have to think not just about whether something is more difficult or maybe a little harder for us personally, but can be something that will save lives in the long run outside of our own homes. So it's a very complicated and complex discussion. And I think we need not to simplify it that, you know, it's all about protecting myself in my home because there's so much more to the fact that some of these laws protect others in our community and maybe just something that, you know, is just a inconvenience for us or something like that. But aren't we willing to do what we can to protect our communities from gun violence?
Okay. Catherine, your
Yes.
hand is up.
Oh, I meant to take it down. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see. I'm not sure that we're ready for a plan. It sounds as though we're not. However, I would like to come back to partnerships, and we did speak about legislation that has been introduced. So we have lots and lots of bills floating around, getting ready to be introduced. They're being edited, they're being prepared. But the ones that have been introduced at this point are the ones here on the screen. The ones that are still in activity, Senate Bill 022 is sort of a, well, I think of it as a housekeeping issue. Is that there is a schedule of offenses that one can commit, and then after, you know, you've served your jail time and you've served your, you know, parole, or, you know, there things happen to you after you have gone to jail for a crime. Part of that is that your access to firearms is restricted for a certain amount of time. And one of the offenses that you can commit that will infringe on your right to have a gun after you've purged the first part of your sentence is auto theft. That was left off of the schedule last year, and this is a housekeeping measure to get that particular offense back on the schedule, so that people with certain kinds of auto theft offenses have restrictions on their gun, their rights to hold their guns for, you know, however many years, 2 to 5, or, you know, whatever the pain is, they're back on that schedule. Okay. Then the other one that is still going has to do with the county having the authority to prohibit firearms discharge within a defined district. That went through the House Transportation, Housing and Local Government Committee and has been referred to the Committee of the Whole. So what that does is it allows the committee, a county, to define an area where gun discharges are regulated.
A lot more than
Depending,
that.
I'm sorry.
There's a lot. I can't raise my hand for some reason. This is the first time I've used my laptop in forever, so I'm sorry. I've been trying to raise my hand. I normally use my iPad, so the bill you just talked about won't allow me to shoot at my own home. I have 40 acres, and trees all around, there's, you know,
Well-
nobody's.
Well,
It-
let's wait a minute
do that
because
in a way.
it allows your county commissioners to define an area that is high density, that has 35 houses in a certain area, square mile, or no. Says 600 acres, I think. So in 600
Yes,
acres,
square
if you have
mile.
35 houses, then your county commissioners can decide that that's a restricted area. They don't have to.
That's every house has 20 acres and you can't shoot, you can't go out and shoot your pistol on your own property. That's not right.
Well, I think that,
In
shooting your
town,
pistol,
I understand in town. And that's great, but that's one of the first bill you mentioned, that actually sounds pretty good. But this one here, that's really restricting my private property rights. That is not right. But
well,
I'm,
now this
getting my say.
allows your county commissioners to go through a process to decide that the density is adequate for restrictions. It does not define this right now and say, all right, you're on 25 acres and that's it. But it allows your county commissioners to go through a process. And you have the, ability to influence your commissioners. And it's not quite, you don't have the right. It's, if you have an indoor gallery, you can certainly shoot there. If you are hunting, you can shoot there. If you have livestock, you're managing your livestock and need your gun. If the bear comes, I think that you can shoot the bear. And it's not defining the areas right now. It is allowing your county commissioners the right to do that. Okay? Giving them a process to do it. Mark, your hand's up now.
Mine too.
Yes, thank you again. I just wanted to be clear. So this bill, if it were to become law, would give county commissioners, the ability to revoke individual citizens' Second Amendment rights. Is that correct?
Only on particular property.
Oh, on their property.
When
private
it's a
property.
danger to the public.
Based upon the opinion of that county
Yep.
commissioner, yes?
Yeah.
Oh, so is there a factual process involved in establishing whether or not this is safe?
Yes, that's what the law is. There is a process that the county commissioners can consult sheriffs, they can consult all kinds of things. There are public hearings. Yes,
Oh.
so it is a process.
Oh, I see. So multiple government individuals can collectively corroborate to deprive a US citizen of their individual rights.
Pardon me for jumping in here, but
Please.
the notion of our government, whether it is county or state or national, is to protect the public safety. The Supreme Court has ruled
Where's
that
that
gun
written in
laws
the
can come in to
Constitution?
protect the public safety.
Specifically, where's that written in the Constitution, ma'am? Could you recite that specific?
I can give you a court case from the Supreme Court where it says that.
No, I prefer to go right to the original source document.
Well,
Constitution is what I'd
Good
say.
for you.
No
Yes,
one
I'm
here,
listening.
It
no
says
one here is a
domestic
constitutional
tranquility.
scholar, so I think we ought to move on from this discussion. Catherine, please.
Yeah, no, I just do want to say, again, not having a phobia about guns, having been taught to shoot by my father, having worked on a Colorado dude ranch where I did skeet shooting with our guests, okay? We have a real problem in this country. This is why we have this task force, because 40,000 people a year are dying at the hands, misuse of guns. This, I think, is a very good idea to have a public process to discuss whether or not it is safe for people to be shooting on their private property. I grew up in Colorado. I spent a long time in Maryland, close to Appalachia. And so we were downhill from an Appalachian ridge there. And for a long, long time, people felt comfortable hunting there because it wasn't very populated, but increasing numbers of people were moving into that area. And I was out with my child. We had set up a swing set on our 16-acre property. I was out with my child and pushing my child on the swing, and somebody just started target practicing on an adjacent property. And I could hear the bullets hitting the trees. They make a sort of sound as they hit the trees. So I grabbed my kid and I screamed, hold your fire. Right? And I had to run back into my home and let my spouse know that this was happening. And he went up and talked to the guy who had been drinking. Okay. And shooting. So it's not like there's nothing happening and people are just out of the blue coming up with laws to get on other people's nerves. I mean, there are real safety issues out here. People are getting killed by these kinds of careless behaviors.
I got my hand up.
Okay, Dale, your hand was up first, I think.
Sorry, I don't know why I can't find the right button on my laptop, but I agree with what you're saying. There's some people are careless and they shouldn't be out there shooting after they've been drinking. I totally agree to that. But I wanted to challenge you on one point here. I'm just looking online while you were talking. There's 1.35 million people killed in auto accidents every year. So, and you quoted 40-some thousand people are killed with gun violence. Are we looking at the wrong item to take on? I mean, should we not be trying to stop the 1.35 million people getting killed?
Yeah, hold on a second.
I think, let me finish. We let you.
Okay, well, you.
And I'll yield here in just a second. And I'm saying we can't put a bunch of drama in a 40,000 number when you have fentanyl killing more people than guns, and you have knives killing more people than guns, and you have auto accidents killing more people than guns. I don't disagree. We need to do something about it. And I don't disagree that there's a lot of really good laws out there or ideas to reduce the amount of gun violence. But taking away my private property rights or my constitutional rights is not the way to go about it. Making me as a gun owner have, I don't want to say safe storage in your definition, but as I explained before, I should be responsible to keep it out of people's hands. I mean, I'm definitely a gun toter, but if somebody got a hold of my gun and killed somebody, I would definitely feel like I should be held accountable and responsible for that. And so I think there's a lot of what you're talking about is great. It's just don't take away the law-abiding person's rights to get there. And I think we could all come to an agreement. But when you start taking away my rights, it's no different than, okay, we need to take away everybody's cars that had an auto accident. Let's start doing that.
We have lots of restrictions on where people are allowed to drive.
That's right. And
You
we
can drive anywhere you feel like it.
we
Okay,
teach them when we train them, and it never works.
Okay,
Right?
Beth, your hand
I
was up
yield.
first, and then we have Mary, and then we have Andrea. So Beth, please go.
I think we need this task force meeting has just been derailed and we need to get it back on the rails. It's fine to have these discussions, but that's not what this task force is about. It's about how do we move forward to make a difference to reduce gun violence deaths, to reduce deaths from gun violence in our country, which are at a horrendous level for many, many different reasons. And if we are going to continue to debate on this task force meeting, then we're not going to make any progress at all. There's time for debate. And I think that can happen at a meeting where you have varieties of views and you have a way to have a very balanced discussion, but for the different views. But that isn't what this task force is about. And if we're not going to move on in a different direction, and I'm hoping Andrea can give us some direction here You know, we are the task force that is tasked with moving forward on gun violence prevention, not on debating various bills and issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary?
I agree with you, Beth. I just have in my hand some statistics from Colorado that show that between 2008 and 2020, firearm deaths now exceed car vehicle accident deaths. All I have to say.
Okay. Andrea?
Thanks, Rhonda. I just wanted to draw attention to the fact that I put the LWVCO gun safety position in the chat. And I want to make sure that everybody understands that both the task forces and the Legislative Action Committee, everything we do, every position we take is, it needs to be in alignment with our positions. So I do think it's important that everybody is aware of this. We do encourage, thoughtful dialogue and diversity of perspectives, but we're not going to change our organizational position. So this position that is referenced, now this is just the summary, there is more in the position book, but I wanted to flag this because this is a starting point for where we are coming at this discussion. So I do think that there, is room for diversity, but I think people do need to understand that any action we take as an organization is going to be looked at through this lens and through this framework, which is very much for, regulation and limiting accessibility in ways that we determine to, serve the greater public safety. So just a point of reference that I want to make sure we're all considering.
Thank you. Let's move on to what our partners have been doing. I have been talking with the people at Colorado Ceasefire, who have been very busy shepherding quite a few bills through the process. None of them, as we saw, only a few have been introduced so far, but there are many in the works. So we will see how they go. I recommend that everybody check out the Colorado Ceasefire website because they do indeed have a lot of information there. The Colorado Coalition Against Gun Violence met last month, and a lot of their discussion had to do with the nexus of alcohol consumption and gun violence. That they are chasing down a lot of research. They are encouraging research, and they're finding that there is a big overlap between alcohol abuse and gun violence. So that's what the Colorado Coalition Against Gun Violence were talking about last month. Anyone else have a partnership report? Beth?
Yes, I just wanted to say Moms Demand Action is having an advocacy day at the Capitol on March the 3rd. And we are inviting all of our partners to, come together around advocating for a lot of the bills that are in front of legislators right now, which I know the League is also supporting. So we really invite the League to be with us at the Capitol on March the 3rd. You'll see a lot of people with red shirts on, which is the Moms Demand Action color, but definitely we just would ask people to wear red, or I know we are inviting people from Fort Collins to join a free bus that we have going down from Fort Collins, also stopping in Longmont. And I guess I was wondering, when it comes to some of these partnerships, I know Giffords had Gabby Giffords for a presentation. There are many things going on, and can't we be more proactive in advertising some of these partners events and things that are happening? And Thompson wanted to talk about her church and a variety of several churches coming together in Fort Collins to organize a gun buyback, which will happen in August through Raw Tools, which is an organization out of Colorado Springs that has something that they call Guns to Garden Tools, where again, it's a voluntary effort that is put on, and people receive some gift cards and those kinds of things, but are just offered the ability to come to give up a firearm that they no longer want and have it turned into garden tools. So there's some really great things that are happening, and I would love to see the League be a partner in a way that we can start to publicize these events and invite people to participate throughout the league. And I guess I wonder, is there something like about the March 3rd event that we could push out to our members and invite them to participate?
Hi, if you want to send me an email, I can put my email in the chat, just about the logistics of the event and if there's any website information or something like that.
Sure.
I can give that to our communications person and we can figure out a way to include that in our weekly emails to make sure that all of our members and non-members are aware of that, if that's something that you would like or would work for you.
Okay, that'd be great. Yes, I would love to do that.
Okay, great. I'll put my email in the chat.
Okay.
Okay. Any other partners? Mark?
Yes, I would just like to point out that it seems like the sources here are a bit biased. Honestly, although I know it's gotten a bad reputation, you all should seriously look into the NRA and its sources regarding gun violence. It is often misrepresented, especially by the press. And what has happened most recently is incorrect association of firearms with crimes. So I just wanted to encourage all of you to remain as unbiased as possible because that is absolutely necessary to maintain our freedoms as well as maintaining our safeties. I would remind all of you that those who choose a temporary safety in the place of a right deserve neither. I'm sorry, I misquoted that. I was trying to quote Benjamin Franklin. I yield.
Okay. Okay. Hope, your hand's up.
Hi, ladies. Sorry, I was having so much internet issues, and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here on the task force. I haven't been on for a while. So I missed a lot, but I did come in on some dialogue, and I just wanted to say that, you know, I understand that there's some misconceptions about guns and gun violence, and we're here as a group of individuals that really want to see some really truly bipartisan action taken on with legislation. And I do understand the league's position on gun safety and gun violence. I met last night and spoke about a couple of bills, or one bill. But I do want to say that I am a Republican. I am somebody who supports the Second Amendment, but I do also support the fact that we need to have some form of, I don't like all the violence that's gone on with like the schools and everything like that and all the mass shootings. I do carry a concealed and carry. And I just wanted to voice that. And I know that this is not supposed to be for debate, but I came into the league because I wanted to see some change. And for it being bipartisan, I thought that maybe we would be able to have good conversation, be able to look at ways of protecting the Second Amendment on top of protecting our family members and the safety of our community as well. So I'm sorry if I jumped in late. I just wanted to say, because I heard some dialogue and I understand that there's some frustration with individuals, but you know, as somebody who has joined the league and is working on the healthcare task force, and also on the LAC for the healthcare committee, you know, I'm working bipartisan with a lot of other individuals, and we're getting somewhere. You know, we're having wonderful conversations, and it really shouldn't be we really need to look at this as a way that we really need to fix things and not hold a position that, you know, to take away people's rights who really do. Like, I would never drink and hold my firearm. I would never do things like that. But look at the individuals that do, right? You know, are they supposed to be having a firearm? Did they obtain the firearm legally? You know, so those are the things that I'm just trying to get out is, you know, as a Republican, as a Second Amendment individual who really supports the Second Amendment and holds that value very true to her heart, you know, I want to make sure that this is a bipartisan, the League of Women's Voters is bipartisan. I just want to make sure that we're being, you know, understanding of everybody's opinion. So thank you.
Okay. Well, our time's almost up. I see no, Catherine, I'll let you have the last word and then we'll sum up. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say, and I think Scalia he wrote a whole paragraph on this in the Heller decision, that it's not a totally unlimited right. All of our rights are negotiated among us all, okay, to try to do the best we can for the most people, right? So we have, you know, this issue of people and their rights. We also have in the Constitution a pledge to protect the domestic tranquility of this country. And, you know, so it's really a negotiation. It's not that anybody is totally against public safety or totally against the Second Amendment, okay? All of this is just discussion about where we can move forward.
Okay.
Well
Thank you.
said, Catherine.
Thank you. Well said, as you say. Well, this meeting, we have had more discussion than we have on any other meeting. So thank you for that. We have decided that we're going to meet on the second Wednesday at 5 p.m. now through July. We still have some chewing over to do about, you know, do we want to plan? Maybe we don't want to plan. What else can we do? I think we'll have to come back and work for that. Please keep working with your partnerships. And I think that's it. I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Does anyone else have anything to say?
Thank you, Rihanna.
Okay. Good night.
Thank you for having the meeting. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Brianna. Thanks for, yes. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.